Hey guys, welcome to the Confused Gentleman Show. Here today we have Kip and WD and myself, Christian. We're going to be hosting this show. Today, on our first show, I'm excited, guys. What do y'all think? Y'all excited about this?
Stoked.
I am nervous, but
I'll take
happy.
nervous but happy. WD says
Stoked,
stoked. I
anxious, a
like
bunch
it.
of emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions.
Emotions.
Confused.
I like it. I feel emotional, and that's how I feel. But that's awesome, guys. Yeah. So this is just a podcast that us three we kind of gotten to know each other in the last few years, and we've all wanted to do a project like this for some time now. And I kind of think we didn't realize we all wanted to do this together until a few months ago.
Weeks ago.
Until we all realized that we kind of had these same idea, but we were thinking of it by ourselves, right? And we kind of made this platform and started talking together. So we're going to introduce ourselves. So which one of y'all want to go first?
I've had it up.
Have at it. Okay. Well, so my name's WD Smith. Like Christian said, I'm one of the co-hosts here on the Confused Gentleman podcast. Super excited about this being our first episode. I'm down here in Atlanta. I have a family of five, and I'm going to shoot it back up to Kip. A little brief synopsis of me.
Short and sweet, just like you.
Yes. Mwah.
My name is Kit Mangan. I am actually up in Metro Detroit. I am married and I got a 2-year-old son. I'm in the healthcare field with my own office and doing awesome work every day. And when you get to talk to people every day, a lot of ideas come up in mind. And that's one thing I've been excited about this is starting some type of podcast just to bounce ideas off each other and have conversations that we don't normally have anymore.
Yeah. And I like that. I think having those conversations is a big reason why we started this, because I feel like we would have those conversations and then we'd be like, why is no one else talking about it? Right.
And we would have them at weird times. You know, all of us met
and
play Xbox with each other. So,
yeah.
you know, when you're in the middle of a Call of Duty match and you start talking philosophy, it's kind of entertaining. and how you can multitask while trying to play domination and capture a flag, but also talk about higher powers and how do we live our lives correctly.
Exactly. Yeah, most definitely not something you just write up, right? We're over there trying to play a little Xbox, trying to win some objectives. Oh, by the way, how do you think, what's morality, right? What's good and evil here, right? Is this really what we should be doing with our life is playing Call of Duty? We're like, check, because I just got C and we're moving on to B, right? Like, that's where we're at right here. Well, that's awesome. I love it. And my name's Christian Brown. I also live in kind of metro Atlanta, down in Georgia. I have a wife and a dog right now. My dog's name is Bailey, and she's the most amazing thing in the world. And if you ever hear me yell or complain or maybe even cry because she bit me during the show, it's because Bailey's somehow got into the office. But yeah, just recently married, about 2 years. These guys already got kids and everything, and I have not yet made that step. So they'll be a lot more wiser in that subject matter than I will. But I really like the group we have here, guys. I think we got a lot of different ideals and a lot of different things going on here. So I'm really excited. I'm pumped.
And the other fact I think is we all grew up in different environments,
Yep.
in different parts of the country, and we're all still relatively the same age. You know, we're all in our younger 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So I always found it weird conversing with people from the South compared to here. You know, so it's just the way how we all grow up, and
Right.
all that stuff will come up in conversation. I got a little mental vault of little things.
Yep.
Because I spent 5 years down in
there it
Atlanta,
is.
so I got a few things that just a little bit different than how we do things up here in the north.
And funny enough, I think you and WD probably had more of those conversations than I did. But getting to know you the last few years, we definitely have those conversations over the things so little as sweet tea.
Yeah.
That's been a difficult conversation for some of our
They
fellow
don't allow
friends
me down south
who will not be
anymore.
named at this moment.
They learned that. No problem. Teach you what you're missing.
Yeah, that is fair. We're kind of subjugating you up north, and you can, tell us how it is up
That's
there. We
right.
appreciate that.
Perfect.
Right. Hey, I appreciate it. You're teaching us some things, and we appreciate you teaching it to us from up there, and that's okay. Well, just to keep it going, this is called the Confused Gentleman for a reason, and I think all three of us we kind of discussed what is a gentleman, right, and what is the ideal gentleman? What does that look like, and how can we attain that in our day to day lives? And I think all three of us, when we talked about it, we got texted about it. We all three had different definitions of a gentleman, but I don't think any of them were wrong. And I think that's something that we can kind of start talking about and kind of, deciphering throughout this episode. So if one of y'all want to start, what do y'all think a gentleman is and why?
Yeah, I'll take the head on this one. That's okay. Um, I'll go ahead and start off by just giving just a definition of a gentleman, if you will. Um, when you look up the definition of a gentleman, there's a few definitions that come up. Um, the first one comes as a man of noble or gentle birth. You think of someone who is just um, royalty. If it was, years and years ago, or someone who was born into a lot of money. The one that I like the most there was about six of them that came up, is a man whose conduct conforms to a high standard of propriety or correct behavior, a man of independent means who does not engage in any occupation or profession for gain. And I think that one right there is what's lost right now. I think that um, some people have ways, they think they're gentlemen, but they think it's all about the money, what job you have, what car you drive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's not true. You can be a gentleman and you know have a modest house, or even even if you're in the low income level, doesn't necessarily change who you are as a person deep down. Um, being on this Confused Gentleman podcast, I have thought about what it is to be a confused gentleman, and um, I think as men, um, we're confused in how we need to make things right. I think that's just something we deal with every day. And concerning work, family, friends, even the smallest things to the biggest stressors in life. So that's what it means to me.
Yeah.
By being the confused gentleman is just trying to make that balance and trying to do the right thing, but also, being true to oneself.
Right. And I like that a lot. I think that there's a lot in that, right? Anybody can be a gentleman. Does noble birth isn't really a thing now, but you don't need to be of nobility to be a gentleman.
And I think that's where it got lost too. People have this mental image,
Oh yeah.
a top hat wearer with a monocle and a
Yep.
cane, driving a Bentley or something like that, and they're some of the worst people out there. So there's definitely a baseline that we can all achieve, and that's where, as we said, it's lost. And there's a lot of influences, social, psychological, family bring up. There's a lot of factors that speaks to
Right.
a man growing up.
Right.
Right? So,
Right.
and that kind of leads into what I think of it. I use the word gentleman as a different, like a combination of psychological and sociological factors. We already said, you don't need to be a noble person, you don't need to be a rich person, and you can be a poor person and still act responsibly. When I think of the definition of confused, as I stated earlier, we're all in our lower 30s. We grew up in a time where our dads and our parents and our mentors grew up a certain way and they raised us a certain way. The generation after us has lost a lot of those standard things that we learned. And, but Then there's the gap of the people in the middle of ours, where we grew up pre-internet, we grew up pre-cable, we grew up no social media, and not until we hit about high school did all those things kind of
Right.
really start blending together. So we're in this weird mixture of knowing the old way of doing things and trying to combine it with the new ways, where we can zig and zag into each generation and act appropriately, whichever one. But there needs to be a continuous teaching from one generation to the next on how it's going to act. And I think where a lot of things have been lost in the recent years could be driven by certain social movements. And I know, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but the definite, the fight between toxic masculinity versus what it means to being a man. The feminist movement, that being sabotaged for different types of gains, and all that is just putting guys in a weird position and not know where to go. That's why I get out of the confused gentleman part, and that's where I think the conversations need to be had between the three of us, and hopefully all the listeners, to start bringing this conversation up to their kids, to their family members, whatever, to try and get us back on track to where it needs to be. Because being a gentleman, being a man are very synonymous. Being a toxic male is one thing, and then being a jackass is another thing. And we're trying to stay out of the jackass part and go the other way.
Right. And I think the big thing when I was listening to you was what's the standard, right? Mm-hmm. We all had a certain standard and a certain a certain way of living, and that hasn't been passed down.
And I think a simple way to say it is, when you start dating, you want the girl's parents to say he was a perfect gentleman, or you want her friends to say you're a perfect gentleman. And now, what does that encompass, right? And that's where we got to get to.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with about the social movements. How do you, how do we teach our kids? I mean, how to be gentlemen in this day and age. It's like, are we hard on them,
right?
Like our fathers were to us, and really just it was tough love. It's not like they loved or they didn't love you or anything like that. It's
right.
They were, the way our fathers grew up was a lot tougher than how we grew up. I guarantee it.
Yes. Oh yeah.
With parenting, with social economic needs, all that. And I think they were just trying to provide the best they could for us. So it's our turn. If we see that they did that, and I think it's our role to do that as well to the best of our ability. But at the same time, the way our society is right now, it feels like you have to almost tiptoe, if you will.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And to take another step is, Dubs, you got a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna teach her to be an independent thinker.
Yep.
To stand up for herself, to do what standards right, but you're also going to teach her what to look for in a guy.
Exactly.
Whether it be in a relationship or a friend or whatever, there's certain behavior that's expected.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and that gets lost, I think, between a lot of women too. Is why can't they find quote unquote the good guy or something like that? It's like, well, because a lot of the guys don't know what to do, right?
Right. Well, and that, it's a different, aspect for me with, having daughters and all that, because it's still, the gentleman way of how, I was taught, how I grew up,
right.
How to respect people. But, I had to show them, like, these are the red flags, if this happens, just be on the lookout, and then if none of those happen, hey, maybe the right guy,
Right.
But
exactly.
it's a sticky situation right now with having kids and trying to raise them right with the society we have right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you kind of touched on it, Dubs, when you're talking about, our parents wanted to set us up, right? They wanted to give us a better life than they had, right?
100%.
But I think some parents, I mean, I know our parents were like you said, there was that tough love. Like, it was like, suck it up. This is
Right.
what we're doing today. There were many times where I got, thrown outside with a lawnmower. It's like, all right,
Oh
let's,
yeah.
let's go. Like, okay. But I think there was a lot of parents out there that saw that comfort was a lot more important than character,
Well,
right?
and it goes
they want their kids.
also where they have social pressures among other parents, competition factors,
Yeah.
or they don't want to be
Yeah.
talked about in the
yeah.
friends group, and like, oh, so and so says it differently, doesn't coddle their kids, doesn't do this,
Oh, yeah.
doesn't do that, and there's a balance that needs to be had, and that's what's
Well, you're 100% correct. I mean, there's just one small story, if I can throw it in here real quick.
Go
In
ahead.
in elementary school, I got in trouble for throwing a piece of food at my best friend at the time, and it missed him and it hit a teacher in the back of the head, right? So we both got sent to the principal's office, okay? Now, this goes hand in hand with what you were saying about coddling versus tough love. My parents laid the law on me. They called both our parents.
Oh yeah.
My mom came up there and said to the assistant principal, "You will never see my son in this office again.
Right.
'Cause when he gets home, his dad will talk to him."
Oh,
We all
yeah.
know what's going on
yeah. Oh,
at
yeah.
home when that happened.
that.
Now, my best friend, on the other hand, his mom came in and was like, "Oh, okay," and he went back to class. My butt went home and waited for my dad to get home.
Right.
And I never,
7 hours,
I
6
never
hours
went to the
or
first,
what.
yeah, I never went to the principal's office again
Never.
after that. So it plays hand in hand. I mean,
My dad would always, when parent-teacher conferences come up, he always made a point to go. And before he left the house, he'd always say, "Is there anything I need to know before I go talk to your teachers?"
Right.
Because if I find out from them, it ain't going to be good. Now, I was
Exactly.
I was
Right.
a scared, scared little kid, and I never got in
Well-
trouble as a kid.
well, it's teaching, accountability, responsibility, respect,
Right.
and all of that, and that's definitely I feel like
Right.
it's lost
Yeah.
right now, unfortunately.
What do you think, Christian?
Well, I think I kind of y'all know I'm a little more on the religious side than most, and I that's kind of the lens that I use a lot of times when we just talk about social issues and stuff, and I really think I think of leadership a lot of time when I think of a gentleman, because I think it's pretty synopsis with me with husband. Right, and I think that kind of throws into my head the whole lens of what is my duties as a husband, right? Well, obviously I got to be a leader, right? But there's good leaders and there's bad leaders, right? Just because I'm a leader doesn't mean I'm a gentleman, right? That doesn't mean that I'm doing the right things. So just because you're given a title does not then so give you, I guess the power or the quality of what that title means, right? So my mindset just went to what's a leader? What's our jobs as husbands, as fathers, right? As men, hopefully gentlemen, right? In this society with a lot of those social things going on around, right? Toxic masculinity. We have a huge thing on religion right now that really I think a lot. Pretty much daily, especially in my line of work, I see a lot of different people. But I think at the same time, when we're talking about confused, right? I think there's a lot of men now who are kind of backed up in a corner or are afraid to speak out because obviously they're going to get attacked either way, right? I mean, they're going to be wrong. There's a very big culture now that wants to be right regardless, right? And they're going to make sure that you're wrong on both sides. It doesn't matter who it is, right? It's just a very vocal left and right, whatever you want to call it. And I think men cower right now because they don't want to be wrong, right? And me and our buddy...
I agree with that, but I think more of it is they don't want to be attacked. Not so much wrong.
Yes. That's fair. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be attacked. You don't want to be ostracized out of your culture, out of your subset, right? Out of your community.
Part of cancel culture.
Yeah, cancel culture is huge, right? And I think that's the big thing is, I was talking, going back to religion, like there's a lot of men leaving the church right now. And there's a lot of men in church where you're like, dude, I don't know what you're doing right now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I have a lot of room to grow. But me and our buddy Tristan, we were talking about this, and we were just sitting there going, hey, man, like, we need to be okay with being, attacked, right? We need to be okay with being wrong to some people because we know that's right. And I think that's a step that gentlemen need to have is they need to be okay with fighting for what they believe is right and be a leader no matter the cost, right? And I think that's something huge that I think is missed in our generation, some in the upcoming generation is just what are we fighting for, right? What's our beliefs and what is that really worth fighting for at the end of the day, right? I think I don't want to necessarily call it weakness, but there's a lot of people who just don't want to fight anymore, right? And I'm not saying like physically fight, but I'm just talking about standing up for what they believe. And I think gentlemen, right, I think it's our job to stand up for our families, for our community, for our people, regardless of what that looks like, right, or whoever that is.
No, that seems the point.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a ton of history where men, if they had not stood up at the time that they did,
Right.
certain things would not have happened. There's tons of evidence of that, and that's what shaped what shaped our society as it is now. With people basically, I think trying to cut down on men.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now. It's hard to kind of voice your opinion, if you will, on any matter, really. Even if it's social media, family, friends, whatever, you're always going to have that, stereotype that he's a man, he's going to try to talk over you, he's going to think his opinion is the almighty, and he won't listen. And I try to tell people who this is more of a political thing, but we can have different views. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
As long as we can have a civil discussion and express both our opinions,
Right.
that's fine. But once you start talking over that person or
Personal attacks.
yeah, exactly. Then it gets out of hand, and it's like you're not mature enough, maybe, or either you don't care to hold a conversation, because that's what makes us great as a society, is that, and especially living here in the United States, you have that ability to voice your opinion without it's supposed to be ridiculed, and all that, but it happens a lot. So
You bring up an interesting point with the religion. I actually talked to WD about that as a potential show topic. You are the religious member of our trio. I grew up going to a Catholic school till 8th grade. Went to church multiple times a week, every Sunday. It was a family thing. And then when I moved away to college, I stopped going. And I really only make midnight mass at Christmas. That's pretty much the only thing I do. And for all intents and purposes, the church and Catholicism is nothing for me. So it'll be an interesting conversation, I think, to have, to get both our viewpoints, and to kind of explain why I moved away and why I don't. It's not an important part of my life.
Right. Which I'm kind of the complete opposite, right? Where I was the missionary, I was overseas, halfway across the world in Southeast Asia, and I'm about it, I'm the one that about it now. Sometimes I lose my religion, pretty much on Xbox, and I most definitely probably shouldn't.
Oh my God, I'm about to lose my religion.
Oh my God, that's probably every night sometimes. I'm like, I'm done, but I think that's a good thing to talk about, because I love you as a person regardless of where you stand on that, and I think you respect me enough wherever I stand on that. And I think that's the key to
Well,
this, right? Us as gentlemen don't have to have the same
and I think
ideals.
what's funny is I think more people need your side than my side,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
we'll save that for another show. I think
And that's interesting.
we don't
That's
need to get
fair.
too much, but I look forward to that talk because I have a lot of opinions on it.
Yeah.
I do too. Hey, and that's the thing. You know, we kind of talked about pre-show, like playing devil's advocate, dude. I do that with myself all the time. Like whenever we talk about stuff, especially when I was a youth minister talking to these kids, like who else is talking to them? What's the worst thing people are saying to them, right? And so I look forward to that too, because you know I probably go down more rabbit trails than anybody in my mind when it comes to that, you know. And I say that I am right now in my head, so that's fine. So don't judge me. But yeah, and I think that's good. You know, I think that's why we have so much diversity in this discussion from all three of our point of views. I mean, I think we pretty much can come to a consensus on most things. Sorry, I can't speak. But I think we come to agreement. That's a lot easier word, right? You know, so we come to agreement on most things. But there's a lot. I think the
Yeah.
way we get to agreements is very different, right? And I think that's great because I think, as cliche as it is, the journey is a lot more important than the destination. And I think how we get there is key. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean that shapes you into who you are, and
Right.
to being a gentleman. You know, if that's our ultimate goal is to figure out, you know, why are we confused? How can we maybe not become confused? You know, I don't think
Right.
you will ever find.
Right.
I don't think we would ever reach that point, because I don't think you can ever not be
Right.
confused. Um, as a gentleman or as a guy, I think there's always going to be something you're just like, I just don't know if that's the right thing to do right now. You know, it would be nice just to have that, you know, that confidence, and it's like, you know, oh,
Right.
I know this is the right decision. You know, I'm saying the right things at the right time.
And I think you know, of course, none of us are perfect,
Right.
right? I mean, all of us are confused. None of us are going to go out there and be like, we're the best,
Yep.
right? We all got to grow in different areas, and we all know that, right? But I think the key is like I said, we got to take those steps to be better. Wouldn't it be great to be confused on one thing instead of 20 things, right? Like, then to be like, dude, I know everything but this, and I'm okay with that because then you can talk to people, talk to other gentlemen, and be like, hey, you're not confused about this thing, right? What should I do here? And I think that's the key and that's another topic we get into. It's just,
One of us sent it as a text where it was like, you're not striving
Yeah.
for perfection, but you're just striving to be better. And I think
Right.
that's a good
Yeah.
way to encompass it.
right. And I like that. I mean, and that's the thing. Just be better. Every day, if you take a step to be better, that's, you know, I think that's a step in the right direction. Well, going off, I think Kip has. We're just going to do the top 10 real quick. Kip just kind of has some characteristics of a gentleman. And we're just going to go through that. We're going to kind of get our quick, brief ideas on that. And then we'll get through the next segment. So, what you got, Kip?
Yeah, just having a little fun here. You can Google so many different things, and I just Googled, top 10 traits of gentlemen or whatever, and I came across this page from Medium.com, and the top 10 qualities that make you a fierce gentleman.
Like it.
Now, apparently, there's another blog post they have or whatever about what it means to be fierce, but that's a fun little list, I think, to go here. So I'll go one by
great.
one, kind of give a little description of what they got written here, and we can discuss and go from there.
Right.
That sound good?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So the first one they have on the list, he takes care of take care of his physical appearance and style. No matter what industry is in or what his situation is
Yeah.
like, the fierce gentleman is dressed for success every day. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, well, I was saying I think that's a big thing as well. I agree that you need to, especially, I mean, anytime you go out and about, you should present yourself in a way whether you're wearing a t-shirt, jeans, or if you're wearing a button down and slacks. Like you need to carry yourself, present yourself.
Right.
Don't go out all stinky and
Yeah,
hair a mess
My
and all
hair's a
that.
mess all the
It's
time,
like
so I get that.
well, if you don't have hair, then you're fine. Yeah. But yeah, if you're going to work, you want to make sure you look presentable for work because you don't know who you have coming in. It could be that next investor. It could be somebody who could change your life. You never know. And if you're looking a certain way,
This is where I am
just don't know.
horrible at. I wear scrubs 95% of the time, and if I'm home, it's in gym shorts or sweatpants.
But that's different though, right? Your line of work, scrubs is perfectly acceptable as being
Well-
professional.
That, that's true, but I don't do my hair every day. I am I am overweight. I don't always eat right. That dress for success it makes total sense, and I get it. I really don't think I own a suit that fits anymore. like I think I was 26, 25 when I finally learned how to tie a tie. Right? Like I just never seen the appeal of the whole dress for success attitude and looking good and all that. But as I've gotten older, the more it makes sense to me. The more
I think it just makes you feel feel
look good,
feel confident,
look good,
feel like
play
you're
good.
ready to take the day and make it yours, and I think that's the whole reason behind that
Right.
that first
Right.
top 10 there.
And I agree, and I think I go to a place where we got to wear a uniform every day, right? But I tuck it in, right? I wear a nice belt. I do my hair. That's kind of a joke because I'm bald, but really though, I mean, as a manager, as someone that leads people, I'll go in there, trying to set a precedent on like, hey, this is how I look, so this is how I
Right.
expect you to
Exactly.
look, right? And I think that's key. Is of course I can't wear a different shirt every day because I got to wear a certain shirt, right? But I can dress that up, like you said, Dubs. Wearing a polo and the blue jeans, you can make that look good, right? Or you
Yeah,
can have it
exactly.
all, looking sloppy as well, right? And I think it's exactly. I think that confidence is what that breeds. Is just saying, hey, I think if you can control yourself, right? It gives you the confidence to control some
Right.
other things that may have not be in
I like
your
that one.
control immediately.
Makes sense.
So
It totally makes sense. Number 2 on this list, he is
Mm-hmm.
considerate and none of the fake alpha crap. He doesn't cut in line or steal cabs from other people. He holds doors
Mm.
open not just for women, although he does hold doors particularly for women. Lets others cut the line at the grocery store if they have fewer items
Mm-hmm.
than him, and generally goes out of his way to accommodate others
Yep.
and pay them consideration in matters big and small.
You know what I think is the number one way you can tell if they're a guy, if they're a gentleman or not. One of the number one ways is if they take a damn shopping cart back to where it belongs at the grocery
Yes,
store.
yes.
Don't leave it in a
Hey,
parking lot, a
preach,
parking spot.
Dubs.
Don't prop it up on the
Preach.
curb. Just take it back. Everyone could use a little bit
Hey,
more
hey,
walking. It ain't that hard.
Exactly. Hey, get your 10 steps in, player, right? Hey, I purposely park near the cart because I'm a little lazy, but dang it, I'm gonna do it. Like, but if I could only walk 5 steps, I'm good with
I
that.
read something
right?
that said you can always tell
Efficiency, Christian.
something about
He's being
someone
efficient.
how they put a cart up.
Exactly.
You know?
And I think that that was that courtesy. Is that what you said? That I think that's considerate, right?
Yeah.
I think that's key, right? And we can see it, like you said, Dubs. It's a very visual thing. That's when characters. You can see character a lot of times when you're that bald stud, driving, walking 5 steps, put up your grocery cart, right? Or you could, or like you said, holding the door for people and letting people in front of you, right? I think it takes no money and it takes very little time to be considerate to people around you, but you get a lot out of it.
The worst is when you hold the door for somebody and then they don't hold the next door. If they're one of those dudes.
So let's say
happened to
you're
me.
being you're holding the door open for someone. They don't say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does that make you feel? That you're being considerate.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing your gentlemanly thing to show someone that, hey, you can go in front of me. That's perfectly fine. But you're not getting a response back to them. Now, is that going to make you kind of rethink it next time, or pause for a
No,
second? Or
I just hope they trip.
okay, it's like karma's going to get you, right?
Right. Or like the next door is a pole and they push. And
Right.
It's that minor inconvenience.
Right.
Those are the things that make me happy.
Gotcha.
inside.
Because I think that happens all too
I was
often,
gonna-
though. You know, you try to do something considerate, but
Yeah.
you know, you don't get that response. But should you want a response? You know, that's a question too. You know, if you're doing it to be considerate, you shouldn't necessarily want the response. You know, you did the right thing. You know, or something nice for someone.
I gotta say, whenever I hold the door, I never really care. I don't have that feeling in my
Right.
head. Like if they don't say thank you, like I might just be in my own little world and just do it out of habit more than anything.
Sure.
Right, which is fair, but I think that's a heart thing, right? What's your motives? Is your motives to
Right.
look good, or are you truly being considerate, right? I think that's the thing. If they're doing it to look good, they're not saying
Yeah.
thank you. You're like, well, okay, jerk, I ain't doing this. But if you're truly being considerate, who cares? You weren't opening the door so they could say thank you. You're opening the door because you have some character and you have
Right.
some gentleman-like qualities to you, and you were going to do it, right? And I think that's the whole thing with being considerate is I think being truly considerate, you're doing it because that's the right thing to
Yeah.
do.
The next one, I think we're gonna have our first questionable one, but not between the three of us. So, number 3 on the list, he's chivalrous. His approach to women is a mixture of respect, adoration, and cherishing amusement. It goes on. An entire group of gentlemen seated together when a woman approaches make for a stirring sight as they all rise simultaneously to offer to take her things and provision over the seat. Although this may seem old-fashioned and unnecessary at first, and many do say so, women as well as men enjoy it. This is where I think you start getting into the whole feminist movement, toxic masculinity. I don't need a man to do this approach, but deep down, I think a lot of women do appreciate it.
And I would agree. I think women like to feel wanted and like to feel appreciated,
It's
right?
desired.
That's good. See, I'm not good with words.
See, I'm going to teach you a few things here, Christian, over the
Thank
course
you.
of this podcast.
Thank you.
So,
So I don't word well. I don't vocab. So it's
playing-
very simple
yeah, start-
down
start
here
playing Scrabble.
in Metro Atlanta.
yeah.
I do play Scrabble. I just don't win, right? But yeah, I think being desired is a key thing. And I'll be honest, guys. I don't really stand up for my wife. Now, when do I push her seat in when I can? Yeah. Do I open the door for her when I can? Yeah. But I don't think I've ever really just saw her walking and just stood up. It's just something that was never an example to me. Now, do I know that's right? Yes, but has it ever been something that I was going to do out of habit? No, because I think I've probably done it.
But is it necessarily disrespectful if you don't do it though? Because just because you're not standing up, and I've always had an issue with that particular thing about standing up when a woman is either coming to your table or walking by or whatever. I guess I've always thought it was weird to do that because I didn't grow up knowing to do that. I've seen it once I've started dating my wife. I noticed some of her family members, they would actually not sit until everyone else has sat at the table. And then the what do you call it, the patriarch would sit last. And that's something that I never grew up with, and it caught my eye the very first time I ever saw it. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I had never seen that before. And it's just, to me, I feel like it is an outdated way of showing respect. I guess that's what you're trying to show. But I feel like you can be chivalrous in 1,000 other ways that's just as good. It's just, I think that being chivalrous you can update that.
Right.
It doesn't have to be set in stone, old school style, which some of it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, and it varies. I know y'all probably may have different opinions on that, but
I don't know. What do you think, Kit?
I don't see it as important either. Like standing up for whoever address, like I really the only thing that I know I remember learning or doing is if you get introduced to somebody, you stand up to shake their hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That I do. But
Yeah.
as far as somebody addresses the table, whether it be someone who's a social class higher than you or a woman or whatever, I've never had that
Same.
teaching or even that thinking. Like, just
Right.
sit down and start to, just sit
Right.
down. Like, I,
And that's not
100%.
rude.
Yeah. Yeah.
now, you would, right, with your point too, of like the patriarch sitting last, I've seen that as well.
Yeah.
Again, that's not that I really pay attention to, nor do I care, but
Right.
I think it's just a nice gesture.
And honestly, I don't think I've ever seen it in person. Now, you watch movies and stuff, and I think I've seen it, but
Right.
You do it at Thanksgiving. You be the last one to sit.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Show your dominance. That's a dominant state. That's a dominant move.
is that-
Alpha. That's an alpha move.
It's an alpha move.
You get
Let's
the head,
go.
Yeah, you get at the head of the table. That seat all by
Yeah.
himself on
You
the
get
end.
the big turkey leg.
Yes, all right.
Okay.
That's it. Hey, I already fight for that big turkey. Man. That's not new. Big boys got to eat. Like it's just. All right, what we got next, Kip?
Number 4, he understands that his life is about service to others, not serving himself. This goes beyond being polite and considerate. Those are just rules of etiquette in polite society, and as such, are meaningless without deeper conviction. For a fierce gentleman, service to others is the underlying conviction. He understands that all ego gratification plans are scheduled for failure, and similarly, that his efforts to enrich the lives of all those around him are destined for eventual success. It goes on and
So
on.
that doesn't that play into what we kind of talked about, being considerate, opening doors, expecting some kind of affirmation, or like your thank you, like a response.
I took it
Like you.
I took it differently. I
Okay.
think this is more when Christian said earlier about there's a journey to your destination. I think this is more of a long term thing where you want your life to be around helping others over yourself. I don't see that. I don't see that it's just those minimalistic tasks on a daily basis, but more across the long term and the chronic, lifespan of yourself.
Right. Right.
And there was something I learned growing up. Not growing up. I guess when I became a Christian in college was an acronym JOY, Jesus, Others, Yourself. A very VBS type thing, but it was very much something that I've tried to do is make sure Jesus is in front, but also others are before you, right? And I think that's something I am terrible at, if I'm honest. And my wife will tell you the first thing I ever did when she became my wife at our wedding was I washed her feet, because I made that important, because I knew that was my weakest strength in my character, was that my first thing I ever want to do for you is serve you, because that's what I hope to do every day. Now, I am selfish and I'm not great at it. I'm a lot better than I used to be. But I knew its weakness, and what?
You had to make that point in front of all the people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it's honest, right? I mean, it's something I have to work on every day. But I think, like you said, Kip, it's a long-term thing. I think it's you'll hear me say it a lot, it's a heart thing, right? It's internal. It's what your inner motivation is, right? Am I serving others so I can just genuinely serve them? Or am I serving them so I get something out of it, right? And I think that service, that, like you said, serving others, right? Like if you're serving others, like at no point should it be, I get something out of that, right? Now, naturally, you get a good feeling inside. You may get some, hey, good job, Dubs. Good job, Kip. You helped us at the kitchen today or whatever, right? But that's not why you went there. And I think that's key, is just your motivation for serving.
I disagree with both of you on this point. I
love it.
I think you should serve yourself before others. And when I say that is only you are responsible for the outcome of your life, your decisions that you make. From grade school through marriage, through adulthood, whatever. So, and I think that doesn't mean you don't care for others in service, but I think there's a hierarchy to things. Like you have yourself at the top, you got your wife at second, you got your kids at third, you got immediate family fourth, extended family, close friends, whatever, and it just, this pyramid of where you're going to put your time and energy. And I think I think that's the more appropriate approach to take. Well, when you take care of yourself, you're able then to take care of others how you want to. If you keep putting all the energy into different pillars,
Right.
you're going to burn yourself out, and you're not going to make it. So I kind of disagree with that, with what they're saying here.
Right. And that's fine. I mean, it's okay to be wrong sometimes.
I know it's fine.
But I'm just joking.
But that's
No,
that's
I
an
kid.
interesting opinion,
Right.
though. Just because of the whole aspect of this podcast, as a confused gentleman, you have Kip's opinion, you have Christian's opinion, my opinion. It's why we're all confused. It's like, are you
Exactly.
supposed to put
Right.
yourself forward or first, just so you're in the right headspace, so that way you can take care of other people, put them right after you, or do you self-sacrifice and you put the people you love the most, you're closest to, do you put them before you to make sure they are okay, they're good in whatever aspect that is in your life, and then you work on yourself because you know that what you've done has made them better and they're good to go, and then you can work on yourself.
And
So
I think
it's
that-
an interesting.
Right. And I think the answer to both of
only
that is
thing
yes. Like,
Right. The only part I see where that could be, where I would agree with all that, like, would be with your kids. Like, you do anything to sacrifice for your kids and do that, but I strongly believe you need to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. And that goes beyond, take our jobs for example. You're in constant competition with someone else who might replace you.
100%.
So, right. So you got to constantly strive to do
Yeah.
better and take care of yourself, because a company's not. We're replaceable to a company. So you got to look out for yourself. In the matter, in different fields have different levels
Right.
of demand. So that this might be another show topic, but I really think you need to take care of yourself first.
But just to play a little devil's advocate to you here, since we want to do that a little bit, isn't it important though to have that work-life balance to where you're not sacrificing so much to make sure that you're financially okay, your job security okay, where you're not there for your wife, your kids, family. It's, to me, that's something I struggle with on a personal note. Is just to make sure there's that good balance there, because obviously if I lose my job, there's repercussions of that. You're going to struggle financially, if you don't find something quickly. There's all these things that will compound. But if you put so much effort into your work, trying to make sure you're okay, that you kind of miss out on things with the kids, or you're not there for certain things,
Well,
it's
I think you're thinking on a plateau.
mhm.
And I don't want to. We can go into the details of your life later, but you've had different jobs at different points in time,
Right.
where you've gone up and then you went down.
Right.
And now you're back up.
Right.
So thinking in that terms of being monotonous of the same job, and you got to have to keep this work balance, taking care of yourself too, and thinking about yourself to find a different job or a better job to give you
Right.
what you want at home in that family life.
Okay. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, and you, with your previous job to this, you exactly made that decision.
Right.
Like, you made that point, and you didn't look back at the old job. You didn't care about it because you knew you had the better step forward to give you what you want in life.
Right.
Right. So it's not a balance of what, the wife and the kids. It's, I know selfishly want a balanced work and home life, or I want to be home more, or I want this. So I need to go down this road to get this job to be able to achieve this.
Right.
That's the way I think of it. Is I don't think of it as like, I can't put in more overtime, or so and so is going to be happy, or if I work late, I'll miss the kids' ball game, or if I
Right.
do this. Look for the other job to get you what they to achieve both at the same time.
Right. And that is ideal. That's what you want. That's
Right.
called a perfect work-life balance.
Right.
And that's hard for
Right.
people to achieve, though. Just in general, like just it just is. And like I said, this could be a whole nother
Right.
show. Like literally, I could talk about this all day. But it's just hard to do. Even when you think you found that place, you still have to
Right.
make sure you manage it well.
Yep.
So.
Right. All right. Before we start making a whole nother episode, what's the next?
We'll start going these a little bit quicker. So number
Next
5, he
Yeah.
has done and is doing his work. They work diligently and consistently to improve himself in all ways and continually remove the limits on his degree of freedoms in all aspects of life: physical, mental, emotional, financial, sexual, social, spiritual. That pretty much encompasses everything we've talked about up to this point.
Right.
So I don't think we need to spend a
Right.
whole lot of time on that. Agree?
I would just say, I would just say, agree. I think, I think all of us do a good job at a few of those, but I don't know if
Yeah,
any of us do a good job at all.
They
of
go
those,
on here.
if that makes sense.
Can almost always be seen to be athletic or working at some physical pursuit, self-aware and introspective, emotionally mature, mentally sharp, knowledgeable and worldly, calm and imperturbable. I said that word wrong. In control of his financial situation, present and aware, a confident to exceptional. ... And I think that's everything we've been talking about.
100%.
I've never been called athletic, but I think I could play.
You could pick up
pretty
some
good
basketball
sports.
and hold your own
Dang straight.
for a limit, right?
45
10
seconds.
minutes. In 10 minutes, I would be like Michael Jordan. After 10 minutes, I would be dead. So, I mean,
Number 6,
got 10
he is
minutes.
in demand. If you need something done, ask a busy person to do it. That was a quote. Is notable by the peace and the volume of his output and throughput, and does not seem perturbed by or winded by what others would consider a blistering pace.
Yep. 100% agree with that. 110% agree with that. I do.
what do you agree with? What makes you just gun ho about that?
I mean, what I got out of it is that you are always there for people. No matter what. Read it again, Kip. Read it again.
Is notable by the pace and volume of his output and throughput, and does not seem perturbed or winded by what others would consider a blistering pace.
Right, exactly. So I feel like you are going through the hustle and bustle of life, but if someone needs that extra thing that you already have so much on your plate, you're willing to help that person out. And to me, that's what I do, and I will say that full confidence. Like I feel like I do that. I do
Right.
go above and beyond. If someone needs help with something, I would pretty much drop what I'm doing, help them out, figure it out, wherever it's work, life, whatever, and try to help them get that done. So that's why I was so just gun ho about. Yep, that's 100% for me, So
Yeah. No, yeah, and I can vouch for that. I think we could all see, if you know Dubs long enough, you can see that he'll help you just about anything. He's helped me. I know he's helped you, Kip. I mean, I think that's fair. And I think that goes with a lot of family stuff, does it not? I think our families, not just, immediate families, but I know my family, man, they hit me up and I got to go cut a grass, on my off day or whatever. But it's okay, because like you said, it's okay to get in the hustle and bustle and get to work.
Yeah.
But when people, who can't do certain things, or when people need help, if you can do it, there's no reason why you shouldn't, right?
Moving on, number 7, he has a backbone. Despite being accommodating, considering, helpful, and fundamental of service, the gentleman is furthest thing possible from a doormat. Because of his intimately awareness of his own limits and his constant striving to live and playing at the edge, he knows what he can and cannot do, and has no qualms about saying no or laughing off unreasonable requests or onerous expectations. Agree?
Yeah,
yeah, I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
But I think you can also be too nice
Yeah, don't
at the same time, which is a downfall for me.
yeah.
That's
I'm the nicest
yeah.
person you're probably ever gonna meet.
You're
Yeah,
so gullible.
and I just try to see the good in everybody, and I think that you can be just you can have a backbone, but you can
Right.
still
Yeah.
just be too giving, if you
You can
will.
be used. And I think people are like, I used to be a football coach, so whatever stigma you think that goes with that was me. Yelling, trying to get kids to do things, never in a bad way. But I most definitely, my father was a coach, so I grew up with just kind of a natural backbone that, we're going to get things done. There's not an excuse, right? Kind of that sternness that, there's things to be done. We got to do it. And, for me, helping people, I love helping people, and I love helping people and loving on people, but I'm terrible at it sometimes, and I have to ask and I have to say no.
Yeah.
And I was very like in college, I was very good at saying yes to everything, and I'm sure Dubs can relate to this. You say yes to everything, and then you're like, I've triple booked
Right.
myself, right? I don't know what I have, like I don't know what to do at this point, and then you kind of get caught up in that. Now I have to start saying no, right? And then you have to start figuring out, where's that line?
Their last line in here is a gentleman is so consistent and trustable in this regard that a person may set their own compass by his. I love that line. I like that.
I like that. That's solid.
Number 8, he has access to and follows his inner wisdom. He may call it God or divine mind within, or insight or intuition or any other name, but the gentleman has cultivated it, has regular access to it, and minds what it tells him. I think that should be number 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. I think that should most definitely be up there. It shouldn't be number 8. Like I think that should be 1, if not 2.
I mean, isn't that like your inner spirit,
think-
what you're made of? Isn't that basically what it's saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. Number 9, he follows his own passions wherever they may lead. Living in an age of near perfect access to information and know-how, the gentleman takes time to pursue his passions and in a way that expresses innate creativity. Because of this, he is often fount of knowledge in an obscure topic you may never heard of.
Yes.
Have a special skill or talent refined over years of practice that may or may not be valuable or desirable as the world defines such things. Preach.
Yes.
I feel I am loaded with a bunch of just tidbits of weird stuff. And I love when you just input one little sentence into a conversation, you just get that look like, how the hell did you know that?
Right.
You know a little about a lot.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah, if you ever need any history help at the Thursday night trivia, I got you. And even though I have a degree, most of it's from History Channel growing up. So
So the next one I think ties into part of this website and their group, but he is a fierce warrior. Why call him a fierce gentleman? So far his qualities seem to involve a great deal of service, gentleness, and consideration for others. How can such one be called fierce? Isn't this world to be reserved for menacing and dangerous wild animals, the violently intense, the threatening, and the savage? Well, while all those descriptors could apply to a fierce gentleman whose loved ones have come under threat or attack and who realizes that he is the sole line of defense in the prevention of their persons, the word fierce also equally means resolute or strenuously active, of exceptional quality, exhibiting boldness, and very excellent.
check.
Yeah,
I like that.
I do too.
And that's actually something I've been thinking a lot about is I've been losing some weight lately. Not necessarily like I've been grinding at the gym, but just working stuff, getting up and being active. And I've been thought about that. Like I think it's my job as a gentleman to protect my family, right? In all facets of life. And I thought, I should probably lose some weight and get healthy. I don't think I was ever like extremely unhealthy at any point, but you could always be more healthy, right? And
I'm just continuing to read. I didn't read the whole paragraph they have in here, but after I read this, we can probably just call ourselves warriors for just doing this podcast. Although he has principally banished violence from his life, this man is nevertheless a warrior, confronting the biggest and baddest dragons that plague the modern world, brooking no cowardice, shrinking from no challenge, stepping through his own fear, and staying brave 5 minutes longer than the ordinary man. I love it.
check.
Yep.
Solid.
Make a
100%.
quote. Put it on the wall.
Done. I like it. I like it.
That was a great
That's
list.
it.
That was a great
Yeah,
list.
that's a great little
It was,
top 10 list. And what I like too, it wasn't just stupid little, one-liners. Like they were definitely thought-provoking attributes,
Oh yeah.
Right.
commandments, if you shall say.
Well, it ties into to the name of the podcast. You know, the
That's
Confused Gentleman. I mean,
And I think that's it. And I think that's a fantastic place just to start this all off. Is now, and now we all have, at least a roadmap to what that gentleman looks like, right? And we even saw in that
Right.
discussion, we don't agree what that looks like, right? We don't agree wholeheartedly on what that looks like or how to get there, but it's okay, because we're going to work on getting there. And like Dub said earlier, we may not get there, and probably not. We may not be in total gentlemen, but we're going to take the steps and we're going to have the discussions.
yeah, and there's only been one perfect person in this world.
Right.
Right.
And I don't think anyone can ever achieve that. So you can never not be confused.
Right.
So.
And I think that's fair. And I think it's I think this is a good thing for all of us, right? I think going out, pursuing our passions, right? Being a warrior, because we're going to be talking about some tough things going on.
Yeah.
We already kind of touched on a lot so far, and I think we're going to continue with that. But to close us out, we're going to have a what we'd like to call a WD nugget,
A dub nugget.
a dub nugget. if you
Hashtag
would.
Dub Nugget.
A
You'll see it on
dub
Twitter.
Nugget.
All right, so Dub Nugget, episode 1. Here we go. In Switzerland, it is illegal to own just one guinea pig. And that's it.
Love it.
That is
I
it.
love it. I love it. That's it.
That is it.
One
Good
guinea
way
pig.
to-
They're
way to
social
end the show.
animals. They are considered victims of abuse if they are alone. There you go.
Wow.
Two
So
or
it's
none,
either
yeah.
it's either two or
Yeah.
none. Like you
So-
can't.
That is.
Wow. That's commitment. It's bad enough having two of you. I can't imagine having two guinea pigs. Well, that's all we have for today, guys. Appreciate y'all tuning in to us in our first episode of The Confused Gentleman. Look forward to seeing y'all next time.